Claire Brofman, someone that people are saying was one of the leaders behind NXIVM. NXIVM, of course, a politically Hollywood-connected sex cult that branded and groomed women for explicit reasons. Well, that Claire Brofman just pleaded guilty to, of course, conspiracy to conceal and harbor illegal aliens for financial gain and fraudulent use of identification. Those are the official charges, but as you're going to see in this video, there's a lot more to this case, as even the last video we did about NXIVM talked about and documented the illegal Hillary Clinton donations. Now, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong here. She was supposed to get 25 years in jail, but now she's going to get at max 27 months from what she just pleaded to. Is that correct?
Not exactly, but close. So she's pled to much, much lesser charges. I mean, we went over the possibility of racketeering charges in connection with the 2008 primary campaign of Hillary Clinton and having some of their members donate the maximum amount in the idea that they would get paid back later by Brofman or Nancy Salzman. Nancy Salzman also pled guilty, co-founder of NXIVM. Her daughter, Lauren Salzman, is the person that pled guilty, Luke. Really awesome stuff here. To enslaving two women for 2 years.
Sarcastically, you're saying.
Oh, yeah, no, great stuff. I mean, these people are absolutely top of the line. So now she's pled guilty to much lesser charges, 21 to 72 months max. Max is what she will get. Now, if they charge her or sentence her, Luke, to more than 27 months, she can then appeal it. But maximum, they can give her 72 months. She's walking around with an ankle bracelet. The only reason she was able to walk around the streets in the first place was because she gave $100,000, or I'm sorry, $100 million bond. Her sister, Sarah Brofman, was found in France in November. Still hasn't been back to the States since all this broke.
I wonder why.
So she's now pled guilty, and I want to read the exact charges because they are nothing like, enslaving women. We'll get into what Keith Raniere, the only man left in this trial, which is set to be begin in May, has been charged with, or what Allison Mack, who pled guilty last week, was charged with. But right here, Claire Brofman admitted in her plea in federal court in Brooklyn that she harbored someone who was living in the U.S. illegally for unpaid labor and services, and that she committed credit card fraud on behalf of Keith Raniere, the leader of the group called NXIVM. So
Jason, I don't see any human trafficking or branding. I don't see any of that other trauma and other horrible stuff that they're accused of at all in there.
No, it's not in there. And it's very, very, very upsetting. It shows you that there is a separate class. I don't have $100 million bond to give to walk out of there with an ankle bracelet. Let's say she gets 27 months. She can't appeal. So 2 years and 3 months. Guaranteed, just like Anthony Weiner, who walked out early, and Hassert, who walked out early, she will walk out early. And she'll be treated with kid gloves the entire time. Remember, Salinas' son, Salinas, the former president of Mexico, was involved in this. He was never indicted. They never talked about that. It took, after the initial indictment into Raniere here, the sex trafficking of children was completely gone, and him and Mac seemed to be involved in that. Then, about a month ago, they brought up the sex trafficking and the child porn charges, only to be dropped later, but dropped, Luke, when 2 weeks ago it was admitted by the prosecutors that they unknowingly reproduced CP to give to the to the defense. Do you know what that means? That means that they did such a great job investigating, they didn't know that there was child sex abuse images or video on a device, and when you give that evidence over, let's say they had to give that evidence over, it has to be censored, it has to be redacted. You don't just give it over because you commit a federal crime. So they commit the federal crime of reproducing CP, yet they actually drop the charge against Raniere and Mack. How does that make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't. Now, of course, her sentencing hearing is set to take place on July 25th, but still, it looks like now only the NXIVM founder, allegedly the founder, Keith Raniere, will be the only person that will stand trial as of now because of this plea deal. HBO is also working on a documentary about this, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. But there's still a lot more to this. But from what I'm seeing here, definitely deserves a lot more attention, a lot more scrutiny, because again, these people are very powerfully connected. As we talked about previously on this show, they have a lot of serious connections. And what about the Hillary Clinton allegations? Is that in there? Is that a part of this plea, or is that someone else responsible for that? Is that all on Keith? Jason,
again, so in the memorandum we're looking at right here. In the memorandum, it has nothing to do with Raniere. It has everything to do with Bronfman and Nancy Salzman. They were the ones that going to reimburse. They were the ones giving this for political agendas and able to go after people on behalf of Raniere. Remember, Raniere is really nothing more, in my opinion, than a front man who had this DOS slave ring, if you will, that included not only women who were aspiring actresses, but people in his organization. And then, yes, you had him grooming and molesting children, allegedly. But we're talking about children as young as 12 years old. 15-year-olds have been talked about. This while he was carrying on relationships with the adult women. Nancy Salzman, for instance. He was dating her, and then he was having sex with her daughter, Lauren Salzman, all by their own admission. You'd think that Nancy Salzman would be horrified by this. No, it's great. Meanwhile, when Allison Mack finally pleads guilty because she knows that she's not as powerful as Bronfman and won't get the deal, she needs to negotiate, she sits there in court, Luke, and cries, and I'm so sorry. How did I let this happen? I didn't realize what I was doing. No, you're sorry you got caught. I promise you, if you didn't get caught, you'd be doing the same exact thing today. And Luke, this case has so many similarities to the Epstein case. It is connected to high-level political figures. When the sentencing comes in, instead of, saying, hey, is this what you want, victims? No, they're just negotiating, and then the charges against Claire Bronfman are reduced to such a level. Well, you'll pay us $6 million. You'll admit to some credit card fraud. And, you harbored an illegal without paying them. That's all you did. It's okay. No big deal. It blows my mind. This is an international operation, folks. This is very, very scary. And this is in my neck of the woods, only 80 miles away. And it took over a decade, well over a decade, of reporting by my local paper, the Times-Union in Albany, for anything to ever be done. It should alarm people.
Yeah, this literally reads like it's a satanic version of the House of Cards. A lot of powerful players here. There deserves to be a lot of attention. We're going to see what happens on July 25th, but from what we're seeing, doesn't really look that hopeful,
well, Luke,
to say the least. Yeah.
I'd say this. We're going to see a lot more come May when Raniere's trial starts, unless they reach some kind of a plea deal. Because obviously, with at least Mack and Salzman, they've pled guilty, but they're also going to be witnesses for the prosecution. Whether Bronfman flips on Raniere, that's hard to tell. She's been paying for his lawyer up until now. Will she pull those funds? All of this is very, very much up in the air. And like you said, we'll see in July what the sentencing is on Bronfman, but we'll see even in more short order how far this is actually going to go. Because when those CP charges were dropped, they said, well, we're not going to prosecute them federally. This is a federally prosecutable case. You can possibly charge him in the District of New York in a state-run case. So there may also be state-run cases that we do not know about yet. I just want to say that.
Well, whatever happens, we're going to be following it closely here on WeAreChange.org because of your support. We're keeping a close eye on it, especially Jason Burmis. If you appreciate it, share this video with your friends and family members. Anything else you want to say, and do you want to close it off here, Jason?
No, that about wraps it up. We are keeping a close eye on this case. I'm going to be reading the entire memorandum and really going through that with a fine-tooth comb because I'm sure there's a lot more just in that document alone that I have yet to cover. That being said, we are covering a lot here at We Are Change. We're doing 4 videos a day. 3 over on the backup at Pulse Change, one on the main channel. Make sure you are subscribed to both and you're ringing that notification bell so you know when the videos actually hit the streets. The mean streets of YouTube are cold. They're tough. We need those thumbs up. We need those shares. So get out there. Please share our stuff and get out there and be the change you want to see in the world.